This is part 2 of our birth story, our final video for how everything went down behind the scenes and Ozzy's birth, and it's really personal and really special to us. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. It helps us and our channel a lot. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Love you. Days leading up to the birth. Okay, so basically what had happened was I went into an appointment with my doctor and I was 37 weeks. So it was Monday and she was saying like, surprised to see you here again next week, kind of hinting that I'll probably be going into labor sometime this week. I think she was thinking that way because I had already had so many contractions. I had already gone to the hospital that week when I was 37 weeks because I was having so many contractions and they were less than 5 minutes apart. And when I got there, they monitored me and the contractions kind of slowed and they tested me, and it was because I had a UTI. And so it wasn't going into labor, but it was causing contractions. I called my sister right away and I was like, my doctor just like made it sound like it's gonna happen like sometime this week. And Lisa's like, well, when should I buy my tickets? And I was like, well, let's just see how this week goes and, you know, plan on coming next week. I was staying super active. Dr. Song told me all these things that I can do to help jumpstart my labor, and so I was eating dates, I was eating pineapple, I was walking every day. Like, I was so for sure that I was gonna have this baby at 38 weeks. And I was stoked because I was so over being pregnant. I was just achy, couldn't sleep, huge, just ankles were swollen like you wouldn't believe, like huge monster ankles, and they wouldn't go, like it was crazy. Just getting really stoked that this was happening. I think I was dilated to like a 2 and like 50% effaced or something like that. And I was, you know, feeling good. I was like, you know what? At least I made it here to Monday. She's stripping my membranes. I'm going into labor today. Like, I was dead set that I was giving birth that day. I was 38 weeks. I went in and the mood kind of shifted because Dr. Song was like, oh, like she checked me out and she was like, it's feeling kind of thick up there, meaning like I wasn't as effaced as she thought I was going to be. And she's like, I don't know, I can still strip your membranes for you, but I'm not sure if this is gonna start anything. Strip my membranes, do it anyway. I was already set on it. So I remember leaving and she was just like, yeah, do everything you can today, you know, go on long walks, don't sit still, just, you know, keep moving, stay active today, and like maybe things will start, you know, happening, contractions, whatever. That day, I ended up walking 10.5 miles. Tanner walked 7 miles with me and was complaining like the entire time. He was like, can you please stop? And I was like, no, I'm walking until I have this freaking baby. Nothing ended up happening that day. I was so bummed. Even though I was still early, I felt late. So every day that went by that week that I didn't have a baby yet, I just was like, how have I still not given birth? Tanner, how do you feel about me not being in labor yet?
I'm freaking pissed off.
Anyway, so I call my sister, kind of tell her, you know, I don't think you should come. It sounds like I'm not really gonna have this baby soon. I don't really know when it's gonna happen anymore. It just kind of like ended up being like, you know what, I'm gonna still come out tomorrow. If anything, I'm gonna get a vacation in Hawaii with you guys and I'll help organize your house, try and like help you get into labor, or if Ozzy comes, like I'll be there. But if anything, like it'll be a fun time to like come out. So she ends up coming. Keep in mind, the hospital is an hour away from where we live. So comes time to go get my sister from the airport, which is about 20 minutes from the hospital. Yeah. So a little bit closer, kind of on the way. So I get in the car and we start driving down, and I'm getting like contractions all the time. Like I'm getting them every couple of minutes, and I'm not saying anything to Tanner. I'm just like kind of breathing through them. And Tanner starts noticing that I'm like breathing through these contractions, and he's like, are you having contractions right now? And I was like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, like I don't want to jinx it. And he's like, okay. And then he just like turned up the music and we just listened to like Post Malone the whole drive. My sister texted me right when she landed and was like, hey, landed, I think we'll be at this gate. And I was like, hey, just like maybe try and hurry. I've been having contractions the whole drive and they've been like 3 minutes apart. So we kind of want to go to the hospital once we get you. And she goes, wait, are you being serious? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I'm in the back of the plane. Like, of course I'm going to hurry, want to run through the airport, but like, I'm in the back of the plane. So she's freaking out and she's sprinting through the airport, gets out, like gets in the car. We drive straight to the hospital. I'm having contractions, breathing through them. They're happening constantly. And I'm just like, this is like the most perfect timing that will ever happen. So we get to the hospital immediately. The second we pull into the parking lot, my contractions stop. I'm not kidding you. I like looked at Tanner and Lisa and I was like, I don't have any more contractions. Like they just fully stopped. Tanner and Lisa were like, okay, like let's keep driving around and see if they like start back up again. So we started driving, starts back up. And the second we get back to the parking lot, stop. Like we get into the hospital and we're like, okay, whatever. We're just gonna go and see what they say, see if they like start back up. Get in there, they put me in a room, they monitor me. My contractions are completely stopped. Like I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. I am not the girl who cried wolf. Like this is not who I am. Like I promise you I was having these contractions. The nurses were super nice and like they're like, yes, this happens all the time. We're like, you can have them, they'll go away. It was just the most frustrating thing because like I would have them be so consistent for like 2 hours and then I would get there and then nothing. It was like I had stage fright or something. Yeah. It was so annoying. And they sent me home. I'm distraught because I'm like, that would have been so epic to like get my sister, go to the hospital, have this baby. So that's the second time that I've gone to the hospital for this because of contractions. The next day, we just kind of like took it easy. Me and my sister just went and hung out at the beach. We just really took the day to like relax and I tried to like forget all about like having those expectations. And it felt at some point like I was never gonna have this baby. I don't know if other pregnant people can relate to this, but I honestly thought I'm gonna be pregnant for the rest of my life. Like this is my life. The next day, like I'm doing everything I can. Every morning, me and my sister, Tanner, joins us for a walk. We realized that I would get a lot of contractions when I was driving in the car. So we would go down, drive an hour to town, just hang out, go shopping, like be around the hospital in case anything happened. And every time we drove, I'd be like getting contractions, and then it would stop. Mind you, during this, I am doing everything on the list that people had told me, going on walks, eating pineapple, eating dates, bouncing on the ball, like everything that people recommended to do, I was doing. And that night I started having some serious contractions. These ones were the hardest ones I've had up until this point. I knew they were hard contractions. They were hurting me. I was breathing through them. They were happening constantly. So we drove up at probably 5, 6 in the morning to the hospital. This is again. So we get there. And the second we get there, what happened? My contractions stopped and I was so sad and felt so defeated because I really thought this was the real thing. I was having really hard contractions and they were 2 or 3 hours, 5 minutes apart or less. 3 contractions in like 30 minutes and they were like, sorry, like you're not in labor and you know, there's not enough space here anyway, like you gotta go. And I felt so defeated, and this is Friday. At this point, I hadn't seen my doctor. When you go in to get monitored, all you do is see like a new nurse, that whoever's in at the time, and you don't see the doctor unless you start your active labor. And I knew Dr. Song was at the hospital that day, and I was like, I just want to see Dr. Song. Like maybe she can tell me how, like what she thinks, like when this is gonna happen. So I go upstairs to her clinic and I just like go up and I don't have an appointment, but I'm like, please, if she has any openings in today, like please can I just go in and see her for like 5 minutes. The front desk girl felt really bad for me and like saw how exhausted and defeated I was and went back to talk to my doctor. My doctor was amazing, so nice, and she was like, yes, we'll squeeze you in at like this time. And I went back there and saw my doctor and she was like, oh my gosh, like from Monday till today, which is Friday, she's like, your cervix feels so soft, like this could happen like really soon. It feels so much better than it did on Monday. I was like a 4 dilated and 80% effaced, and she was like, I'm gonna strip your membranes right now again because this is like amazing. Did that, and after was like, okay, like stick around, like you know, go to Target, go walk around on the beach. Could happen today, so just stick around today, see what happens. So I'm like, okay, like we've got things rolling, like this is super good news. So we walk around. I have contractions on and off, nothing crazy. I could tell they weren't as hard as they were the night before, and so I was like, okay, I don't think anything's happening, but we stayed there until the night. We drove home that night feeling pretty sad again, like just really, I was hopeful. It was just a roller coaster, but I was just grateful that I had my sister and Tanner there to kind of help me along and keep me laughing. So that night, this is Friday night, I wake up at probably 1 in the morning with the most insane pains because I'm having so many contractions. But at this point, you know, I've been to the hospital 4 times. 4 times I've driven an hour just to have my contractions stop. I didn't tell Tanner, I didn't tell Lisa. I was just like, this is so stupid. I'm not going to the hospital again. I'm not even gonna tell them that I'm having these contractions. Whatever, I'm sleeping. So I would fall back asleep and then I'd wake up like 30 minutes to an hour later just with the most pain, like contraction, contraction, contraction. And it was like so painful. I was like, hey, these are long, like they were long contractions, they were hurting. And I kept having to get up to go to the bathroom. And like one of the times I went and I sat down and like I didn't start going to the bathroom, but all of a sudden like water came out and I was like, that was weird. I probably just like, cause I'm pregnant, I probably just like peed. Like I probably just like peed without even trying, and I'm pregnant, that's normal. So I was just like, whatever. And then I went back, laid in bed, and all of a sudden like a little bit came out again, like without me doing anything. It was just like a little bit of something came out and I was just like, did I just pee myself again? Like I just went to the bathroom. I don't even have to go. I was getting so many contractions. Like they were hard contractions. And I still hadn't told Lisa or Tanner what was happening. They were dead asleep. We were all exhausted. Then I finally like go out and I wake my sister up and I'm like, Lisa, I'm having like pretty bad contractions like consistently since 1 a.m. At this point it's like 4 in the morning and I'm like, I can't sleep at all. They're so bad. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I think maybe my water broke, but I could have just peed my pants. And she was like, okay, well, go stand in the shower. Like, so then I went over into the shower and I was just like standing there and like water came out and she was like, did you push that out? And I was like, no. I was like, I don't even have to go to the bathroom. She's like, Kate, your water broke. How long has your water been broke? And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I didn't think my water. So then Lisa's like, we're going to the hospital. Your water broke. Let's go. And I was like, ugh. So I go into my room. I start packing my things. And all of a sudden, like on the floor, like so much water came out. And I was just like, yeah, that's my water. And I like went out and I was like, that is my water for sure broke. And she's like, I'm telling you this, we gotta go. Her water broke. I think it was only a couple hours until she gave birth to her first. And so I was like kind of comparing it to her situation. So I'm thinking like, shiz, my water's been broke. Like I'm gonna have this baby right now, thinking this is happening right now. And so we like rush, get in the car. I am calling everyone. Everyone is so excited. Like I'm the first of like my 4 friends out here to give birth. And so I'm like calling them. I'm like, my water broke. Everyone is cheering. They know how exhausted I am and how much I wanted to give birth at this point. I am exactly 39 weeks. So this is Saturday morning, early. Everyone, I'm calling my mom, my brother. I'm like, this is happening. My water broke. We're on the way down. I had to sit on a towel the whole way there because I was just like, water was just coming out. We get to the hospital and I am feeling so good. I'm like, my water broke. I am here. They have to admit you once your water breaks. Finally, I just felt so much like happiness that I was there that I was just like, I didn't care about the pain. So I just felt like I had so much adrenaline. Okay, let me hear some of your thoughts.
Okay, you just have it.
I'm sorry, I just talk
Yeah.
because I get excited. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, for 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I'm just a talker. Okay, let's hear Tanner's side of the story.
Everything was a roller coaster.
Yes.
There wasn't a lot that I could do, except for just like when you're in pain, try to be there for you. When you needed water, get you water.
Do you remember how I would get my calves would,
Yeah.
what were those things called?
Cramps?
I would get, what are they called? Charlie horses in my calves.
Charlie horses.
In the middle of the night. And I would be like, Tanner, my calf.
Yeah, just like wake up in a
and
panic.
he would have to go and like.
Yeah, very sleep deprived because the 4 different times we went to the hospital, all of them were either really late at night, like 9, 10 p.m. and not getting home till like 2 a.m. or we were leaving at like 2 a.m. and it was just for a solid week of that.
Yeah.
And so we just weren't sleeping a lot already, and so then like when it actually came time to like be there,
it was exhausting.
Very sleep deprived, but like finally we knew, okay, the water's broken, and I've been dreaming. Yeah, I've been dreaming of this moment of being able to just drive as fast as I can down the highway.
He was so stoked in the car.
Yeah, that's what I was most pumped about. I was just like, dude, I just get to fly like in the movies.
And nobody can get mad. It was so
I know, and I was wanting almost to get pulled over so I could just be like, she's pregnant.
My wife was having
Yeah.
a baby.
Because we were thinking, yeah, like, dang, we're going to have this baby, like, in the car.
Because,
according to what her sister had said.
Yeah.
So we were flying. Yeah, thanks for including me. That feels a lot better. I was
so sorry. I know, you're like...
I was kidding.
But that's sad
but, like,
because, like,
well, it was you talking about, like, all the exhausting times, and then you weren't shutting up, and so it was...
So, the best part is when...
Ozzy was born.
No, on the car drive up, I don't think it had hit Tanner yet because we were all so exhausted and like loopy that like I was taking this video. I'm like, my water broke. My sister's behind me going, woo! And I shine it over to Tanner and he's just like, woo! Oh my gosh! Like it finally like hit him. My water just broke. We're driving to the hospital! Woo!
Whoa!
And so yeah, we get to the hospital, and they don't stop, they admit me, boom, I'm in.
We admitted at like 6 a.m.
Admitted at like 6 a.m., yeah.
And
I had already been laboring from like 1 a.m.
Yeah, nothing for real happened until like 9 p.m.
So basically what had happened was I was having contractions super consistently, but I wasn't dilating fast enough, and I didn't know how dilated I was because my waters had broke, and so they don't like to check you a lot because you can get an infection because there's nothing protecting the baby. But when they finally did check me, they were kind of like, okay, you're not going as fast as we'd like you to. With your water being broken, we kind of like things to go a little bit faster just so that we slim the chance of the baby getting an infection. Okay, we need to put you on Pitocin. Let me tell you, contractions are no freaking joke. Like, they hurt. I would like feel one coming on and I would get so much anxiety, and I would just grab Tanner's hand and like pull against his hand as hard as I could. Which one do I like?
You like pull? You like to pull?
Here, I'll shake you. And breathe through it, and they would happen like every 2 minutes, every minute, and it was like non-stop. Like it's exhausting, and I'd been up all night already going through that. Fast forward, I need my epidural. I was at like a 5, so I'd only dilated like 1 centimeter in the matter of hours, and I was
12 hours.
Exhausted. I was like, I just want the epidural right now. Like, I don't want to wait anymore, and I felt like I was kind of a wuss, but at the same time I was just like, I am exhausted. I'm not going to be able to push by the time it becomes time to push because I'm so tired. So they're like, that's fine, like, we're getting your epidural right now. So I got my epidural and it felt amazing. Like, finally, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think I even took like a 30-minute nap.
Doing something crazy in there. Can I have some more? Yeah. That's so good. No, like it hurts and then it hurts. So I'm like, just think in your head. Is this an Irish jig?
Interpretive dance.
I love it. If you blast it, it's really catchy. They really get you.
I know, it gets you deep.
Really. Very
I've been waiting on this all damn day.
Or a week.
or
a month of life.
Tell me how last night went.
Terrible.
Terrible.
It's like,
the question that is.
this was when it kind of became a little bit scary. So they were trying to move me around into different positions and get the baby moving and, you know, like try and get me to dilate more. It was already in the afternoon. It was like 4 or 5. and they're moving me around, and all of a sudden, like, the nurse that I had at the time, I loved all my nurses, but this nurse was a little bit like nervous, and just, you could tell she wasn't very like confident, and because of that, it gave me a lot of anxiety. I moved into a position and we watched her heart rate go down, and the beep starts like slowing.
Yeah.
And my nurse like immediately is hitting the call button to have like other nurses come in, like flipping me back over and being like, get up, get up, get up, like move back over, and like stressing out, and like the other nurses run in, they're like moving me, they're like, it's okay, and then the heart rate would rise again, and I like didn't know what was happening. Didn't really tell me, but like I looked at Lisa and she was like getting watery-eyed and like started crying, and I was like, wait, is something scary happening? It made me start to kind of like cry, and I didn't know what was happening. They like put oxygen on me, like all these things, and so basically what was happening was the cord was wrapped around her neck, and every time I'd like move into a different position, it would tighten, and then her heart rate would slow, and I was so freaked out. So then from then on, that's all I could think about. That
was the most miserable, scary.
It was miserable and terrifying, and I was just exhausted, and I wanted to push to get this baby out, and I didn't know. They don't tell you that the cord's wrapped around the neck, but like I knew something was wrong, and every time I moved, I knew that her heart rate was going to drop. And it was very scary, and everyone was just very quiet, and during that time, Tanner gave me a blessing, and it was really comforting, and we were all just, he was crying during the blessing, and at this point, this nurse kind of made it seem like I might have to get a C-section because I wasn't dilating. After you go through that long of labor and you just have these expectations, you just really want to like at least try to give birth that way, and obviously the only thing I want is for the baby to be here safely. But it was also just like, I just did all that for like nothing, it felt like. Got a big girl in the chair.
Ozzy, thanks for taking my place.
She's gonna take over from here on.
Okay, Ozzy, can you tell us from your point of view?
Tell us the rest of the story from inside the stomach.
What was it like in there?
What was it like? It was bad.
Scary?
Scary.
Dark?
I think we left off when we got a new nurse, which was heaven sent, because my other nurse was very frantic and kind of just freaking us out and making us feel like I was gonna have a C-section. New nurse comes in. I can tell she's very confident, and you could tell she's been doing this for a long time. It was just like, you're doing great. Like, we're just gonna do this and this, and we're gonna get this baby here, and it's gonna be great. And I was just like, okay. And like, she was like, okay, let's move you into this position and watch what happens. And she like moved me, and of course the heart rate started dropping again. She's like not freaking out at all. She just like watched it. It's like, okay, see what it does. Then the heart rate would right back up, and she's like, okay, that's fine. She was so calm that it made me way more calm, because I was so nervous that something was wrong. And when she came in and just said like everything was gonna be okay, like I was reassured and knew that everything was gonna be okay. So about the same time that I got the new nurse, my doctor showed up, and she was awesome. She came in, and she wasn't the doctor that I had seen. I hadn't like had her for any of my appointments, so I was a little bit nervous, but I had met her a couple of times, and so I was reassured and honestly just wanted the baby here. She's very to the point, and she doesn't sugarcoat things, so I always feel like what she says is truthful. But when she came in, she checked me, she's like, oh yeah, you're doing great, like we're gonna get this baby here, you're gonna push her out, it's gonna be awesome. Building my confidence back up and making me feel so much more reassured. And I think if I wouldn't have had those two, like the nurse and the doctor that I had, like I don't know if I would have been able to have Ozzy vaginally, because I was so defeated and so tired. So I was grateful for that. So I'm in there, and I have like my oxygen, I have the shakes like really bad. I remember shaking a lot, and I remember having the feeling of like having to push from the start. So I was just like wanting to be dilated to a 10 so bad. I was waiting all day for this because it just felt like I needed to push the whole time. Once I got to a 6 dilated, it was like so fast. It was like 6 to 10 in like 30 minutes. It was like so fast, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited because they checked me again finally, and they were like, you're a 10, like you can start pushing. Like,
Bye-bye, service!
you're at a 10!
one and see.
Yes.
I want to push all day.
Let's do some practice pushes, and I was so excited. I was like, you're kidding me, this is happening. They have all the stuff in there. Exhausted, but just so excited for this to finally come to an end and meet my baby.
Okay, so when Dr. Moore and this other new nurse came in, the entire vibe in the whole room changed. It was like palpable, where we had this other nurse who was super nervous. Every time something was slightly going wrong, she was going to extremes. And the same things were happening with this new nurse, but like Lauren said, she was just like really calm about it. And I think it's exactly what Lauren and me needed, because we were like, we had no idea really what was going on. All we knew was a heart rate was dropping, and it caused the machine to start beeping a lot, and knew that that wasn't good. I think that you went from a 6 to a 10 so fast as opposed to the other way. You have the epidural now. You could relax, and the anxiety of the other nurse
Was gone.
and so you could just be like, okay, like breathe.
So then the nurse comes in and tells me I can start pushing, and I do a couple like practice pushes. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was nice because I had my epidural, but I could still feel my legs. I could still feel the feeling of needing to push and then the pressure. Wasn't waiting for like the monitor to say like, okay, you're having a contraction, start pushing. Like I would tell them like, okay, I want to push like right now. And that was really nice, because then I felt like my body was really telling me when, it was still telling me when I needed to push. And so I felt like really in control of that. I like feel it coming on. I'm like, okay, I can feel the pressure. And she's like, okay, let's hold the push. And so I pushed, and I would hold it as long as I could. The first thing she says, like, whoa, we've got a serious pusher.
What a serious pusher.
She's
I've been
been
waiting
waiting
to put good job, love. Do you want?
I mean,
You can see the whole top of her.
do you want me to
Oh
here,
my gosh.
You grab that leg, I'll grab this leg.
So freaking tired.
And I had like gone into pushing with like the thought of like, I'm gonna just push this baby out in 3 pushes. Like I just want to get this baby out. And so when that didn't happen, I was a little bit like, okay, wait, like how long is this gonna take? Because I remember like pushing, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, we can see the tip of the head. Like I had Tanner on one of my legs, holding my legs, and I had my sister on another leg. Whenever I would push, they would be able to see like the tip of Ozzy's head, and they're like, we can see your head, we can see your head. And so then I'm thinking, I'm freaking close.
She's got some hair. She's got some hair.
That's pretty cute.
Doing good.
But then that lasted like 45 minutes. Every time I'd push, they'd see the head, and then all of a sudden, I guess it would get like sucked back up, which I didn't know happened before that. I thought like you just get to a point and then it stays there, and you get to a point and it stays there, and you get farther and farther until the baby is out. Not the case. You can push and then it will like go back in when you're not pushing. So, and I was like getting a little bit discouraged, like, am I actually close, or are you guys just saying that? What were you thinking of like when you first saw Ozzy's head? Like, and also Tanner wasn't gonna watch the birth. Right? We had always kind of said like, oh, but don't look down. Like maybe just stay up by my head and you can, like see when the baby comes out, but not necessarily like be watching.
Yeah, I was like totally on the fence. I didn't know what I was gonna do or like how I would be in that situation. But when it started happening, it was the coolest thing ever.
Incredible.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm amazed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually not as bad as you
I'm in awe. Yeah, whoa.
you're like.
I was just like in awe, and it was just this amazing thing that was happening, and I was just like witnessing the craziest thing I've ever witnessed in real life, and I was just pumped for Lauren, and I was probably part of the problem because I was like, you got it, she's right there. Every time I said that basically with every single push because I could see the head, and to me I was like,
She's right there.
I could see her, she's right there, and Lauren's like, how many more?
How many more do I have to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see her head. She's got little hairs on it.
She's got a little baby head. Yes. You.
Oh, she's right there.
Just say hi.
Yeah, she's just right there.
Oh my god. I still
I
have
can see her.
yeah.
I remember getting like so hot and being like, oh, can I get like a rag for my head? Like I remember just being like so hot, so somebody like grabbed me like a cold rag and put it on my head, and that felt a lot better. I remember skipping like a pushing thing. Like I remember feeling the pressure, but I was like, I need a break. So I think I skipped one. My doctor was amazing and was so like positive and just telling me like, you've got this. Everyone was just super encouraging. They're like, you've got this, you've got this. And I remember just feeling really empowered and like, okay, like all I've got to do is like push, I've got this. It was like the most pressure I've ever felt in my life, because like her head is basically like, the biggest part of her head is just like sitting there. And you're just like, I can feel, like I couldn't feel the pain, but I could definitely feel the pressure, and that was freaking me out. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is uncomfortable.
Oh, good hell.
I know. Because she's just stretching everything out, okay?
Oh, good hell.
You got it. Little Ozzy.
Put her head out. Come on.
Put down. Look down there.
You want to grab her? You want to grab her? There she is.
Yes. You did it.
What are you feeling, Hash?
I feel like it just came back into my body. Oh. Oh yeah.
You might